Hello and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal preview show. I'm your host, Jonathan Giles. On this week's show, I'm joined by John Melia and avid Sligo Irish fan, Manchester City fan, Tony Conlon, to preview an early season top of the table clash against Pep Guardiola's Man City side, which is live on Sky Sports Premier League at 4:30 this coming Sunday, September the 22nd. And remember to check out the Faltering Fullback pub in Finsbury Park if you're there on match day for the Arsenal. So sit back and enjoy the show. As I said in my intro, I'm joined by John the Baker Melia. How are you, John? And welcome to your first preview show. Are you privileged?
Yeah, this is new, yeah. See how this goes.
He won't be the faltering fullback on this show, that's for sure. And I'm also joined by Tony Conlon, an avid Manchester City fan. How are you, Tony?
I'm not too bad, folks. And yourselves?
Great to have you on, Tony. Great to have another away fan on. Pete Baker, thanks very much to you for the Brighton fan we had on a couple of weeks ago, and to Dermot, the Spurs fan. Every fan Eamon has brought on, the team has lost, so long may that trend continue. Sorry, Tony, in advance.
But for City to lose, Arsenal have to come out to play. They didn't last season, so at the Etihad. So,
we can have that debate.
You're not going to win leagues if you're not going to come out and play. That's what good teams do.
Tony, we can have that debate.
Huh?
That's fighting talk from the off. I like that. Thanks very much to Eamon for bringing on the fiery character. We'll have you on again, that's for sure. He's getting Andy Williamson a run for his money, who we had down from Newcastle last season. Yeah, no, it's great to have you on, Tony, and I do appreciate you taking your time out to come on tonight. We go through some of Manchester City's summer business briefly, I suppose. Probably a quiet window for you. The signing of Savinho from Girona, very Riyad Mahrez type player. He's wearing the same squad number. You can kind of see the similarities the way he goes down the wing. A very skillful player by the looks of him. And Ilkay Gundogan, which was a really good signing, obviously being at Manchester City, and he brings a wealth of experience there. The outs that I've put in, Julian Alvarez went to Atletico Madrid. Calvin Phillips went to Ipswich. Joe Cancelo went to Al Ahly for the old Moolah, and Liam Delap went to Ipswich Town. In terms of your transfer business, Tony, were you happy enough with what you've done in the transfer market for the summer?
Yeah, I don't really think we needed too many changes brought into the club. Savinho obviously is going to be, he has been and will be a sensational star in the future. That's the way. That's the way I see that, because I watched a bit of him in Spain as well when he was playing for Girona, and I thought he was absolutely brilliant. So he's a welcome addition. I do think myself that bringing Gundogan back to steady the midfield, to give Rodri a break at times during the season, I think that was good business. But I also think there's an underlying side to that as well, because my understanding is that he's probably going to, he has his badges, and he's probably going to be part of the backroom staff, hopefully, because the players have great faith in him, and he's a good motivator. So hopefully, I'd say he could end up being the replacement for Guardiola in the near future. That's my view on that. The transfers out were apart from Julian Alvarez, kind of disappointed he left. Seen a lot of his games in Argentina, late nights at times, staying up to watch them when he was playing for Independiente, and he always looked a good player. He looked the number 10. Yeah. But I think they're going to the Copa America, and this year the people got in his ear, and that he should be. I think he was disappointed as well that he didn't get some of the big games near the end of the season. So when people get in your ear, and you get an itch to go somewhere else, but it hasn't actually happened for him yet with Atletico Madrid. But I do believe he will be a superstar in Spain, and a big loss to City.
In terms of the other Joe Cancelo, just didn't really see eye to eye with Guardiola by the looks of it. Were you disappointed for Calvin Phillips that you didn't see much of him, or do you think he was just there just to fill the English numbers, the quota that you need?
I think when it comes to Cancelo, I think he was the architect of his own downfall. That's the way I look at it myself. Nobody's bigger than the team.
Yeah,
that's the way it came across.
Yeah,
and nobody's bigger than Guardiola in a football club, and there'll be nobody bigger than Arteta in the football club.
Yeah.
And if they think they are, they're going to be moved along very swiftly.
Yeah.
But when you've an opportunity to play for one of the biggest clubs in the world that are winning trophies, because let's be honest with you, Barcelona aren't at the moment. They probably will be in the future again, and they were in the past. They were a fabulous club, regardless of whether it was Guardiola managing them or whoever. Especially, I remember going way back years to, I don't know if you remember a player called Simonsen from Denmark used to play for. Back at that time, that were fabulous teams, and Johan Cruyff.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it was like back in there. Then they'll be good again in the future. Every club goes through their period. Look at Manchester City. In fairness, we've been down in the old third division, and I remember going to football games on Main Road over there. So, there's swings and roundabouts. They have their cycles. If anybody is delusional enough to think that Arsenal aren't going to have their time, that Liverpool aren't going to have their time again, or Manchester United, they are delusional. It goes in circles, and teams do go through their bad spells.
Were you disappointed Calvin Phillips didn't make more? Would you have liked to see Phillips stay, or do you think it was the right decision to move him on?
I thought he should have been gone last year.
Yeah.
I'll be bluntly honest with you. For his own sake, he should have left last year. But he was determined to. Well, it looks like he was determined to stay at the club and pick up a few trophies. But he never seemed to learn or fit into the system that Guardiola. And if you look at Mateus Nunes at the moment, he's something similar. But I do think it'll be it normally takes a second season with Guardiola, and I do think he'll be a breakout this season. But that's my personal view.
I thought it was a signing to begin with. Sorry, cut across you. I thought Phillips going to City just didn't make any sense to me at all. I didn't never talk to the Guardiola player at all.
Yeah.
Really. So I thought that was a strange thing. So you're right, he needed to go. He needed to go. But his own career, he needed to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially after the Euros he had in 2021, he really had a good season with Leeds United before the tournament. And I think probably hand on heart, Phillips probably shouldn't have really moved, but I suppose when you get linked with Man City, you always hope that you might carve out a career. But sadly, look, the star players that are ahead of him, sadly it didn't work out. But I'm sure Ipswich Town probably maybe is his level at this stage, and hopefully he can stay injury free and have a good career with them, hopefully. John, briefly, we were linked with, I know it was probably never going to happen, we were linked with Julian Alvarez. I think it was more speculation than anything. Do you think Alvarez be a loss to Man City in terms of attacking wise if anything happens to Haaland?
Well, I think as Tony just said, Savio looks fantastic. He looked fantastic last season playing for Girona. I think he will sit in there, comfortably. I think he'll fit in there really well. That Alvarez link to Arsenal, I never believed it for a minute. There was no way he was ever going to Arsenal. As much as I would have loved it, it was never going to happen. I think that might have been just agent talk, just to bump the price up a little bit more. They were never going to sell him to us. Really good player. Only time will tell whether City miss him. The way Haaland started this season, I very much doubt it. But he would have. I would have loved to see him in Arsenal jersey, but I never thought it was realistic. Never.
He did look the talent at the time he was at City. I thought his finishing was superb. He's really good finisher. Really good. Yeah. Really.
Well, honestly, yeah. Any other team in England, I think he would have been in the first starting 11.
Yeah.
It's just what City are. They have a freak of nature up front. It was very hard. When he's fit, he plays, and when he's fit, he scores. So it's very hard for someone to come in and sort of oust him. But I thought he was a super player.
And I think, if anything, his career would probably move on another notch with being under the care of Diego Simeone. You can only see him. Yeah.
Don't be surprised if he comes back to England. He's young enough.
You never know. Yes. Yeah. Could you see that happening yourself, Tony? Do you think he could come back to England down the line?
I think he will.
Yeah.
I don't think the Arsenal link was. I agree with John. I think that was just to bump up the price.
Yeah.
I do think that if, and I'm being absolutely honest here with you, and I say this, I do think if you had Alvarez instead of Jesus,
Yeah.
I think no question about it, it would have it. He would be clear favourites, I'd say, at that stage, because the one thing about Alvarez is he pops up anywhere.
Yeah.
He fights for a ball. He doesn't give up. He'll be back defending if you want when he needs to, and he's up front and available to score. I think he had the whole package. Now he's gone to Atletico Madrid. It hasn't happened just yet, but people have to remember he's had a long 2 years. Like he came straight over from the Argentine season to the Manchester City, to the English season, into late Europe's and back early. And I think he was at the World Cup as well, and he was the Copa America. So, like, he could be burnt out at the moment. He might be feeling the effects of it, or burnt out, for want of a better word, as I was saying. But he's a fabulous player, and I do think he'll be back in the Premier League, because I think some other team is going to scoop him up.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's back to us again, but I can't see that, to be honest with you.
I remember one goal that sticks out.
Yeah, contract. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure Chelsea will offer him a 10-year contract or something.
Yeah. and they'll be selling him after 2, as usual, or even if he gets to 2. That, in fairness, that's. I have a daughter here as a Chelsea fan. I stay away from any conversations with that.
Okay.
I remember one Alvarez goal, though, briefly, lads. I think it was against Fulham a couple of seasons ago. It was at Craven Cottage, outside the box, and it was right in the top corner past Bernd Leno. I said, God, this kid has something about him, He's just unfortunately he's against the machine of Alfie and Gahannans. But yeah, but he definitely is. I can see him definitely coming back to the Premier League, because his best years are still ahead of him. Yeah, it would have been nice to sign him now, but I don't think it was ever going to happen. I think it was more to, as you said yourself, Tony and John, to bump up the transfer fee. In terms of Man City's form going into the game on Sunday, you had an opening day win at the Bridge. Kovacic came back to hunt him. I thought he was immense that day when Rodri wasn't there. I thought he played that position really well. And of course, Haaland, who else got off the mark? Ipswich Town was next then. Our very own Sammy Smodex gave you a bit of a fright, but the worst thing you can do is score after a minute. And a hat-trick pursued from Haaland and De Bruyne. Away to West Ham then, another hat-trick from Haaland. He makes it look so simple. And then at the weekend, a bit of a fright. Brentford gave you, I know Haaland got 2, Wissa got an early goal, and they could have even had maybe 1 or 2 more before you scored. Nathan Collins had a great chance. Ederson, again, his reactions are incredible with his feet. In terms of your first 4 games, Tony, I say you're really, as John said, I say you're really pleased that Haaland has got off the mark and 9 goals already in 4 games. How pleased are you with the start of the season?
Actually, it stretches back to the preseason in America. I thought Haaland came back a different player. I have to say, like, he came back with a different, complete different attitude, and he showed a leadership on the preseason tour that surprised me, I suppose, for want of a better word. But he showed the youngsters some that were out there, some leadership. And to remember, there was a lot of young lads out there. We bet Chelsea on in the preseason, and I thought, to be quite honest with you, I thought that the only saving grace for Chelsea in the first day of the season was that they were going to be at home and they might up their game. But I seen nothing in Chelsea, I have to say. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even think Manchester City broke sweat either 4 games. Yeah. But I was concerned last Saturday, very concerned. And I think that if we go out with the same attitude or the same defence against Arsenal on Sunday, we're up against it from the start. I thought Walker and Stones showed the rustiness. I thought they were poor. Young Lewis is not a left back. He's going to be a fabulous midfielder, I have to say. I think he's going to be a fabulous midfielder. He'll be somebody that the English can actually shout about, I suppose, in years to come. But I think that we were very lucky that it wasn't 2 or 3-0 before we actually scored on Saturday. But I think after we got the goal, we controlled the game. we're always going to give away a couple of chances. But it showed what I was saying to you pre this, that if you come out to play and Arsenal are at a higher level, I don't take anything away from Brentford. I think Franks is a brilliant manager. I think he's always put out his team to win games.
Yeah.
And I think that if Arsenal do that on Sunday and come out to win, they'll give us a run for our money. Don't think he'll win, but they'll give us a run for our money.
I like the way you're firing them shots early. I have to say, I was really pleased the way Brentford came out. I think since Tony's left, they seem more of a unit. You know, they look closer than they ever were. You know, and that really impressed me. You know, that Wissa lad, he's very over the way. He's complete, isn't he? I have to say, he's really. I'd be very surprised in the next season or two he doesn't move to probably a top 4 team. You know, like I do believe that I think he fits into a team. You know, his energy and his work rate is just really immense. In terms of yourself, sorry, Tony.
If you look at it, Jonathan, you take Wissa from Brentford, where he's an absolutely fabulous player, and you put him into a Manchester City or an Arsenal team.
Yeah.
How many goals will he score in this season? And I don't know if you were going to touch on it later on, but just to give that example, you look at what Arteta has done with Havertz.
Yeah, completely different.
He's taken an average Chelsea player.
Yeah.
He's brought him in to the Arsenal team. He's given him confidence. And he's scoring goals, what he was supposed to be doing at Chelsea.
Yeah.
So, you know, managers like Arteta and Pep and Guardiola as well, when they got players, they improved them.
Yeah.
You know, and Wissa going to one of those clubs, any of those 3 managers, he would be an absolutely fabulous player. And you know, he'd be. He might be in the Haaland League, but he'd be up there in the Aguero League or the Salah League. You know, that type of way.
Yeah, he's definitely a 15-20 goal a season striker, isn't he? Yeah, like he's himself and Bremo and Tony at the time. They're some front 3, but like tactically, I think Thomas Frank probably will get a better job eventually. You know, because he's really earned it. You know, the 2 or 3 years that they've been in the league, Brentford, the way he set up, even at the Emirates, they gave us a bit of a fright that time back in March. So yeah, hats off. They went to Etihad with no fear, and I think that's the only way you can go to the Etihad. You know, don't go in with any fear and hope for the best, you know. But you'd have to say he set up really well. But
so you'll be coming out to play on Sunday, will you?
I think the first game back though after an international break is always a bit worrying because you don't know what condition the players come back in, you know. And I think it takes another maybe 2 or 3 games after that needless interruption, I'd like to call it. But yeah, definitely we'll be coming out to Hammer City on Sunday. In terms of yourself, John, they've started off like, you know, I wouldn't say a juggernaut, but 4 from 4 is pretty impressive. And Haaland has hit the ground running, which is fighting for everyone else in the league. How do you see City start the season yourself? It's
I watched that Chelsea game in the first game of the season. I'm like yourself, Tony. I wanted to see what this Chelsea was like under this new coach.
Yeah.
And yeah, right. City didn't break spell. It was so easy for them. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, looking at Chelsea is just going to be another one of those. It's going to have another season like Chelsea. When they're good, they're going to be good. When they're bang average, they're going to be bang average. City made them look bang average on the opening day of the season. The other 3 games, you'd expect City to win, and they did. As you said, they've set themselves a really high bar. They're not going to drop their standards. Not a chance in hell. Everyone else has to, at least, you know, drag themselves up to that level because they ain't coming back. You've got to get yourself up there. We were close last season. I think we'll be close again this season. But they've set a really high bar, and they're not coming back anytime soon. You've got to reach that level. So I'm not surprised with this start. Really not.
Yeah, it's frightening the start Haaland has made. He looks hungry. You know, I have to say, just looking at particularly the game against Ipswich and West Ham, it's like he goes out to get a hat-trick every game. Like 2 goals isn't enough for him. One thing with Haaland is he's just a perfectionist, isn't he? He works so hard and he gets the reward. You know,
Tony mentioned the pre-season. He got a proper pre-season.
But yeah, so that's
he didn't have to play in the Euros, you know.
That's another thing, yeah.
I mean, so he got a proper pre-season. As you said, Tony, he was an elder statesman in that Tour of America. And as you say, he rose to the occasion. I think he enjoyed the responsibility.
Yeah.
You can't put money on a proper break and then a proper pre-season, and he's coming back fresher and fairer and stronger than anybody else. I'm not in the least bit surprised at the start. I'm really not. And you can't put money on a proper pre-season. You really can't. These, a lot of all these players who went to the Euros not coming back till 2 weeks beforehand or a week beforehand. That'll take time to get that money, get the miles into the lane, get into that kind of fitness. He's already there. He's starting the season ready. So everyone else is still. They'll probably be mid-October, end of October before they get to his level of fitness. He's already there, so I'm not the least bit surprised.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. He really is, and as even as a neutral fan, he's a joy to watch, and he's some role model for any upcoming kids hoping to be like,
Bloody nightmare to watch. Okay.
I'm hoping he'd be a nightmare to watch on Sunday. But before we go into the game on Sunday in a bit more depth, just like to mention a few players that play for both clubs. I thought I'd bring this feature into it. Current players for ourselves: Zinchenko, Jesus, and Sterling. But from yesteryear, bring it back a few memories, I suppose. Niall Quinn, David Rocastle, David Seaman, Andy Cole, Paul Dickov, the saviour of Man City from '99, Samir Nasri, and Emmanuel Adebayor. I never forget that celebration in front of fans. Gay Gleeshy, Bakary Sagna, Nicholas Anelka, Richard Wright. Should bring back a few memories. Had a terrible time, sadly, at the Arsenal. Colo Torre, Patrick Vieira, Silvino, Stuart Taylor, another goalkeeper, and our very own, I thought to mention last, Eddie McGoldrick, who had a decent career, really, kind of for both, when they were going through transition phase, I suppose. Any memories from them players, Tony, from yesteryear for yourself?
Niall Quinn.
Yeah.
Niall Quinn had actually. I was in the supporters club my first time over at Main Road, and Niall Quinn was playing for City, but he was injured for the first game that was playing. We're playing United, and they absolutely hammered us. It was 5-0 in Main Road.
Oh God!
And, yeah, and it was a nice baptism. It was a baptism. I've seen them twice. City haven't beaten United twice. I've seen them live, but the stories I heard about Niall Quinn in the supporters bar that day showed a light that he was such a lovable guy, and he was such a fantastic addition to Manchester City. The fans had nothing but good things to say about him. Do I have any other memories? I don't think that Manchester City have replaced Gail Clichy at left back since he left. I think we've struggled to fill that position until now with the two centre halves. Adebayor, I have very little time for him. I thought he was a child. I thought what he done at the running down to the Arsenal end. I wasn't there. Arsenal are one of the few teams I haven't seen at the Etihad or at Main Road, but I thought it was childish. I thought there was no need for it. Football's football. You go and celebrate the way you celebrate, but you don't. I think that was uncalled for that, and that's my own view on that. Samir Nasri was a gifted player that I think messed things up for himself. I think I think that his career at Manchester City came to an abrupt end, but I think that was of his own making. Sagna was a good player, right back. David Rocastle.
Yeah, what a player.
What can you say about him? In fairness, I admired him when he was at Arsenal. Was delighted to see him at City. Yeah. Fabulous player, Eddie McGoldrick was another good player. They were we had a standard at that time which was way below the expectations of what we have now, and that's no disrespect to the players that came. Paul Dickov, an absolute hero, right? For no matter what way you want to look at it, to worship the ground that he walks on at because of his heroics with City, a fabulous person. Yeah, there's some good memories of Arsenal players coming to. And Colo Torre was a fabulous player.
Yeah,
you know,
you got him at the right time probably as
at
well.
the right time.
Yeah,
and like he served the purpose that
yeah,
at the time to bring us that step forward, another step forward. Like
yeah,
I actually, I'm not. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I think the quality of player that came to City, the majority of the quality of player that came from City from Arsenal, was way better than the quality of player that's after going down to the Emirates.
Thank you.
The two boys were decent players. I think Jesus had the world at his feet.
yeah.
And he hasn't progressed. And I think Zinchenko was always played out of position. And I think that, if it was a midfield player, would he get in the Arsenal midfield team if he was reverted to midfield? He wouldn't. Let's be honest with you.
It's a fair shout.
Yeah. So there's a fair shout, I think, on both sides. I think David Seaman ended up with City as well at one stage.
He did, yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, right at the end of his career. Yeah.
He's another class act,
Yeah, even Nicholas and
If you think about it, the quality of player that came to City from Arsenal,
yeah,
it's fair. It's fair and better than what's probably gone from City down to Arsenal. So look, anyway, that's only my personal view. I used to actually enjoy we're signing somebody from Arsenal. Brilliant. That's that's a level above what we have. That's brilliant, and it worked out in most cases that we did get very good players from Arsenal.
Yeah, there were some good players, John, wasn't there, that went between both teams. Some good memories. Probably mostly Arsenal players going to City, rather really, and it's only really in the previous years that we've had the opposite, isn't it?
The one that jumped to mind, Tony, I'm assuming you're a similar age to myself, Tony Caton, the centre half that we got back in the late. He was a really good centre half. I'm showing it back in '88. Yeah, I thought he was a really great centre half to kid. So I just thought to throw his name in there. He was a good player.
What about Brian Kidd? Seems we're going back to that vintage.
Yeah, but
you go back years now. Yeah, Brian Kidd, everyone forgets that actually. Yeah, he was one player back in the day himself, wasn't he? Yeah. This will be the 212th meeting between both teams. The record stands at Arsenal with 99 wins, City with 65, and thrown in there with 47 draws. So it's City are getting closer to. Hopefully, Arsenal have that 100 win on Sunday.
Just on that point as well. Yeah. Arsenal haven't won at City since 2015.
That was, I think, was that when Cazorla got to a penalty in Giroud? Was that game?
I think that was that game.
Yeah, that was actually, we played really well that day, and that was it wasn't anything with the quality we have now, but yeah, I remember. I think that was in a January game. I think that was the same day Spurs. I think Bale scored a screamer for us as well. That I can't believe that's 2015. Good Lord. Last season,
Remy stats here.
Yeah, I have to say, you're very well prepared. Keep it going. There's a job for you here. Yeah, you might be replacing John. Super sub Conlon. Last season's beatings, of course, was our 1-0 victory at the Emirates. A very late goal from Martinelli, which took a deflection of Aki, and then in March, the end of March, the 0-0 draw, which probably, I always thought that draw, along with the Villa game, cost us really. I think if we won that day at the Etihad, I think we would have probably went on to win it. Hand on heart, I think the momentum was with Arsenal at that stage. But look, you just never know the way the other results would have went. But when you see the record after the City game, I think bar the Villa result, we didn't lose a game, but that's the way it goes at the Etihad. But I think the more meetings we're having with City, as Arteta said himself, titles are won on defences, and how solid our defensives become, is a credit to him. In terms of, just briefly, Tony, in terms of the last, the two games last season, what was your view on the home and away fixtures?
I honestly thought City could have come out of the Emirates with a draw. If
Yeah.
if I recollect, it was a deflected shot off Rodri that
Was it Rodri? Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
I do honestly believe that if Arsenal had come out to play, had beaten City, they probably would have went on and won the league.
Yeah.
What I was saying to you earlier was, or saying to you earlier was, if you want to be the best, and Guardiola has that attitude, he goes out to win every game, regardless of whether he loses. He goes out to win. You never see Guardiola not trying to. And I think that Arsenal was a wee bit disappointed. I thought they didn't come out. I know I said come out to play, but you know what I mean by that is that they didn't come out and show.
Yeah.
They didn't come out and show us Arsenal. They didn't come. I love nothing better than to turn the television on and look at an Arsenal game if City aren't playing. They play great football.
Yeah.
City played great football. Liverpool, up until last season, played great football, and you'd watch them. You'd watch them, even if you know that they're probably going to win the game, right? And I think that if Arsenal had actually come out and beat City that day,
yeah,
regardless, like they lost the league anyway, and you're probably looking at it at that stage and saying, well, we didn't want to take that chance so early with March, because Arsenal City are going to be in Champions League matches from tomorrow night on, right through. I expect both teams to go very far in the competition. There's going to be injuries picked up.
Yeah.
But the thing with the least amount of injuries, the league starts basically as in my own belief, after the November internationals. You can lose the league at this stage, but you can't win it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that with all the games that are going to be played, Sunday, Wednesday, and Sunday again, or whatever, it's the teams that avoids the most injuries, and has the strength and depth. They'll come out on top. But you have to get into a rhythm after Christmas, and City are the kings at that, and that's under Guardiola. They get into a rhythm. They're relentless, and I think that when Arsenal and that's why I was saying about the draw at the Etihad last year. Arsenal were in a relentless situation, and they were beating everything in front of them.
Yeah.
And it just slowed down there. And if you're 7 to 9 points clear of Manchester City going into the last 3 months of the season, you know they're coming after you. They're good hunters. You know they're coming after you. And it's up to you to keep that momentum going till the end. And if that means you have to come out and stand toe to toe with whoever the league champions were from the previous season, or whoever your challenges are, you come out and stand and beat them. You're worthy champions. And I think that when Arsenal are far off that, I honestly believe that, not just because I'm on this show. I don't think Liverpool are going to be challenging. I never thought they were going to be challenging. I think United are so far behind at the moment, they're not going to be challenging. The folks that you played last Sunday, let's be honest with you, Son only has 2 good games in the season, and they're against Manchester City. I don't think that. I know it might be disrespectful to Ange Ball and all of that, but I still don't think that Arsenal. I think it's third and fourth place is between Liverpool and Tottenham and Aston Villa, who I think Aston Villa. I know he was your ex-manager, Unai Emery, but he is a great manager.
He is, yeah. I think he inherited a bad squad. I think, being honest with you, I do believe Emery. I like him as a, he just sadly didn't work out. I think Villa's probably a better fit for him. If I'm being honest, and he can get the best out of players. Like, look what he's done with Ollie Watkins. He's turned him into a 20-goal a season striker. But briefly, John, I know we went through this last season and all, but do you think last season at the Etihad it was a missed opportunity, wasn't it? If we won that day.
Okay, where do we begin on this? You were about the team getting injured. If you put the situation Arsenal got to the Etihad last season, we'd no left back. Tommy Asu was injured. We had to play QBR there. Martinelli was missing. Saka was missing. And in fairness, you're saying we went to that game plan just to sit back. I don't believe that for a second. If you saw, did you see the game against Spurs yesterday?
I only seen the highlights last night.
Okay. Basically, because obviously we're missing a few players in midfield, we kept the toy and tried to pick our moments to play two Spurs, get behind them, and it worked. It worked brilliantly. And I think that was the plan last season at the Etihad. Unfortunately, Bernardo Silva had QBR on toast. Absolutely had him inside out all day long. Jesus had to sacrifice his game to help him out. That was an out ball gone. And in fairness to City on the day, that press was absolutely outstanding. We couldn't play to it. No matter how good, we just couldn't do it. Jorginho was, every time we got the ball, there was two City players on top. So I don't believe this nonsense about we went up there just to sit back and defend for 90 minutes. It was a case of City forced us to defend for 90 minutes. So I'm giving City credit for this. Don't
I understand that.
I am not saying that was the game plan because I'm telling you, it wasn't the game plan. If you've seen the game against Spurs yesterday, I'd say that was the kind of game plan Arteta wanted. Sit tight, keep that City defend out wide. In fairness, centre halves have had a couple of good games against Haaland. Haaland hasn't found it easy against Saliba or Gabriel. I'm not saying he won't do it on Sunday because he is such a really good striker, but he hasn't found it easy. I think we've probably got the two best centre halves in the league. And if anyone's going to do a job on Haaland, it'll be those two. I'm not saying it'll happen, but they're as good as anyone else do. Obviously now, this Sunday, Royce should be back. That's a help. Bit of legs, bit of energy. Odegaard, unfortunately, again, he's a big miss. We don't have a lot of creativity in midfield. He's the main man, and he will be a miss. So we see a very similar game to the game against Spurs yesterday, where we'll sit back, keep it tight, try to force City out wide, see if they can get behind their fullbacks, and try and catch us, try and move the ball a little bit quicker and over the top, turn your fullbacks. Ake, I'm assuming, is going to be missing. He has a really good record against Saka. I have to be honest, if anyone's had to measure the Saka over the last couple of seasons, it's Ake. I'm not saying your left back won't do a job on Saka, but I'm optimistic he'll have more joy against your new left back than he did against Ake. It's not going to be easy. Nobody goes up to the Etihad and finds it easy. But I think a very similar game plan to yesterday is what we'll be looking at. And I don't think it's any shame at all going up to the Etihad and coming away with a point. It really isn't. Especially at this time of the season.
Do you think this game...
that was the game plan in March. I really don't.
Do you think this could be a game where... Could this be a game made for Raheem Sterling to come off the bench and hand Man City...
Look, I hope so. I hope every Zave keeper comes off the bench and makes City suffer. I really don't care who comes off the bench and makes City suffer. You never know. I think he will start on the bench. But it's game circumstances. You just don't know what's going to happen. I was at the game 2 weeks ago. We played some fabulous football. Could have been at least 2 or 3 up at half time.
Yeah.
The standing off changed the game.
Yeah.
Circumstances changed. You just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. All I know is we have to be at our best. We have to be defensively disciplined, and we have to move the ball quicker and try and turn City. And that's not going to be easy because they press better than anybody. And we have a really good press. City's Guardiola's been doing this for the guts of 20 years since he took over the Barcelona. He gets his team to press better than anybody.
Yeah.
So going up there to City is not going to be easy. But you said Havertz. Love him. Oh my God, what's he done? I was lucky enough to see him play for Chelsea against Arsenal the year before we signed him. We won 3-0. He came off the bench. The game finished 3-1, but the difference he made. And I came away from the Emirates that night saying, Jesus, he was good. And then we signed him. Now I thought we paid over the money, over the odds. I couldn't believe the size of the contract he got. Now you're looking at it and saying, yeah, shut up, John. You don't. You trust Arteta. You got to trust him because he's since January he's been absolutely outstanding. He just gets what it's. He enjoys putting on that Arsenal jersey. He's loving every minute of it. As you said before, having a coach who appreciates him, having a group of players around him that appreciates him. He's been absolutely majestic for us, and long may that continue. I think it'd be a very interesting game. I don't think it'll be the same as the game in March. I'd put Timber up against Bernardo Silva. That would be a battle I'd love to see. I really would. If Calafiori's fit, that's an extra weapon in the army defensively, at very least. I still think we're a little light in midfield to actually go toe to toe with City, but tactics, and get your game plan. It's going to be a good game. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really, really good game.
Yeah.
And be interesting to see how Haaland goes up against Salah and Gabriel again. They've been good battles. I think the last couple of seasons, Saliba in particular, I think has had his measure. But you can never write out Haaland. You just can't write him off. You just can't.
Yes,
I think
it's very similar. Sorry, Tony. It's very similar to Gabriel and Saliba for us centre backs. Akanji and Diaz are equally the best centre backs as well. When you see Rice, Rodri, you can kind of see the two teams. They're trying to match player for player, quality wise. Where do you see, Tony, the game being won or lost in your opinion?
Before you answer that, Rodri is. I couldn't believe Rodri wasn't in the run-up of Player of the Year last year. He is.
It's quite incredible. His levels are never below 100%. He's just an incredible player, isn't he?
Could not believe he wasn't nominated last season. He was a difference maker. I think the only game he lost last season were the games he missed.
Yeah, that's right. Anytime he plays, City don't lose, and it's very rare City don't win. Sorry. So yeah.
Sorry, Tony. I just wanted to get that in. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that is a good shout, John. Yeah, I don't know how he didn't actually get in the team. Yes, it's incredible. Where do you see the game being won or lost, Tony, in terms of City?
Well, firstly, I agree with what John's assessment of Rodri is. I'd like you to tell Zinchenko that next time you see him, that Partey is not a better defensive midfield player than Rodri. He's not even in the same league as him. But anyway, where do I see it being won? John hit the nail on the head. We're the best pressing team in England. You want a high press? Now, in saying that as well, everybody's concentrating on Haaland.
Yeah. Give enough weapons.
Yeah, but just to remember, last season Haaland was injured a lot. Okay, we had Julian Alvarez. But prior to Julian Alvarez joining the club, there was any player that could have stepped into that role at City. They played without a false nine and won the league. So they're well equipped to adapt without Haaland. Okay. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing the shape of the Guardiola's team, because I tell you, I believe it'll be way different than what we've seen in the first 4 games. Yeah. You'll have Foden. If Foden plays tomorrow night against Inter Milan or comes on, you'll have him involved. I'd say in the team. I don't actually see Kovacic playing. And the other point I was making as well, we were talking about Haaland coming back a new man. You have to remember that Kevin De Bruyne missed the majority of last season.
Yeah.
Had an operation. Yeah, he played in the Euros. But for him, the Euros was his pre-season because he had played very little of the season before.
Yeah.
He came back near the end of it. So he shouldn't be burnt out. And that has been what I've seen him for the last couple of games. And I'd ought to make another point that I think if the game is going to be won by City, it's De Bruyne's involvement in the game that's going to be the difference. And I did look up. I knew we had a good number of goals because the goal the March before when we won 3-1 where De Bruyne scored 2 goals.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely fabulous there. But after that, if you remember it, including in the European Cup, in the Champions League final, he got injured and he was very injury prone after that for a period.
Right, yeah.
And he looks to have got over that.
Yeah.
Last Saturday, I seen the best of De Bruyne when he got moving in that game. And I think that if he's at that level or above it, and remember, he rises his game for big teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, United. In fairness, he does.
Yeah, that's the worrying thing as a fan.
I think that's where I know John said we're a bit light in midfield, and that's where they could capitalise. But you know, City can score goals. They don't depend on Haaland to score goals. Yes, he's great and he's top goal scorer, but he's not the only one they depend on. Silva can score goals. Foden can score goals from anywhere. You know, Grealish, Doku.
Yeah,
I actually expect to see Doku play instead of Grealish, because I don't think Grealish gives the same how would you say, he doesn't give the same against the likes of Arsenal, although he proved me wrong a couple of years. He doesn't give the work rate, and I think that Doku going forward, I think City, if they're going with their back line of Gravadol, Diaz and Akanji, who I actually think Akanji is the bargain by the last 5 years in the Premiership for 15 million, not wanted by Dublin, and to come in, and he's absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
Diaz, and it's who they play at right back. That's the worry for City. It's who they play at right back, because in fairness, Lewis is a midfielder. Rico, he's a midfielder. In my view, he's an inadverted right back, right? What I seen of Walker on Saturday, I know he's ex-Spurs and he'll raise his game against Arsenal, but he looked like he struggled a lot last Saturday, and so the Stones. And I know they're coming back of international break, but I do think that the midfield of De Bruyne, Rodri, and if Bernardo Silva's put sitting in there, I don't expect to see Kovacic in there, and Savinho and Doku and Haaland up front. I think that'll be the undoing of Arsenal. But in the same vein, Arsenal have threats everywhere as well. So let's, we're open and frank on this. Arsenal are a very, very good attacking team. And what we said about Kai Havertz earlier, he's a different player under Arteta. And he gives Arsenal a better option than Jesus does. And I do think that if Arsenal actually had got the likes of a Wiz that we were talking about earlier, in their team, or even the lad as at Tessa over with Crystal Palace, another what looks like it's going to be an outstanding front man with a team other than Crystal Palace. If Arsenal had that type of player up front, I think Arsenal would be unstoppable. I think that's while Havertz is good and he is playing well, thinking out and out. I suppose if you put Haaland into the Arsenal team as well, but we're not even at that level. All Arsenal needed was a real out and out centre forward. I'm actually. It's the first every time we come out of the season, it's the team that's going to be closest to you at the end of the season, who's going to be challenging there. They're the games I love. I'll spend the week having a good think about, looking forward to those games. I actually would sit down and watch the game, and I'd be like every other supporter, whether they're in the stadium or not. I'd be going, just to give you an idea, all the houses around me are all Manchester United fans. One of them has actually the house called Old Trafford. Okay, right? Others have flags hanging out when Manchester United are playing, and the only shouting that you hear in the street at the end of the game is me. But anyway. So that's giving you an idea. This what'll happen on Sunday. But at the end, that's football, and that's soccer for you, and that's sport in general. And I think that if anybody who's not looking forward to a good game, I actually would have loved to have seen the full Arsenal Spurs game yesterday for different reasons, family reasons. I had to depend on the highlights, but I would have sat and looked at that, not because I have no love of Spurs. No, absolutely no love of Spurs, I can tell you that. But if I was sitting there looking at that game, and it's always Arsenal you want to win the game. And that's from a young fella. When I grew up here in Sligo, there was two teams that dominated. And everybody thinks that it's Liverpool and Manchester United. No, it wasn't. It was Manchester United and Arsenal from when I was a kid. I was one of the few, and there was a few of us. There was about 11 or 12 City fans across, and it's larger now. And Liverpool came at a later stage. But then with the Irish contingent at Stapleton, O'Leary, Brady, and those, it got stronger again. So for Liverpool and United would be dominant, but Liverpool would have. It's only in the latter years when Liverpool were winning nothing and everybody was telling them stories about how they used to win these European Cups and all of that, that people, got interested in Liverpool. That's my view on it. That's probably a harsh view on it from here. But the dominant teams in the 70s and 80s and 90s in around here were, the fan-wise, were United and Arsenal. And I think, how Sunday's going to go is quite simple. I think the City are going to beat you 3-1.
I was just going to come on to that, and you saved me asking. I was going to ask you the Brazil.
I was doing it.
It was straight.
I was doing it a roundabout way to try and just sneak it in. But no, I think it's going to be a great game. I honestly do think it's going to be a great game. Hand in heart, I still think we'll win 3-1. If we lose, remember, it's not going to be much of it. It's not going to make much of a difference at this stage of the season.
Yeah.
If Arsenal win, they're a point ahead of City.
Yeah.
If it's a draw, it's status quo. And if City win, they're 5 points clear. Right? So let's put it in perspective. Going down the line, we're into Champions League football.
Yeah.
And we're into burnout at Christmas. extra cup games in the FA Cup that we're all going to be expecting to be challenging for. It's going to take its toll. Yeah. It's going to take its toll. So whether City are on top on Sunday, whether Arsenal are on top on Sunday, doesn't matter. All I like to see on Sunday is a good game of football. Hopefully a City win. But I don't think it really it's just you'll just get playing for positions in the league at this stage. And I honestly think that when it come the end of the season, that it's going to be maybe 2-3 points between the two teams. That's how close I still think it's going to be.
I tend to agree.
And that's my honest assessment on that. And I don't think Liverpool or Villa or Spurs will be close to either team.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. I don't think there'll be much between the sides at the end of the season. I do think first goal scorer on Sunday is going to be huge. If we get it, you'll find it hard to get that equaliser. If you still get the equaliser, I can see us winning it. But if we get it, I think you'll find it very hard to get back. It's going to be an interesting.
John?
It's going to be an interesting tactical battle. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
My head wants to say a draw, but my heart is saying there's something about this game that says Arsenal get something. I can see her scoring, and I just have this feeling that we will score, and if we score first, it's going to be tough. It's going to. You've seen how well we can defend. As you said, I'm looking forward to them. I really am. I really am. An interesting tactical battle. The one thing about Arteta and Guardiola, they do. It's like a chess match between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first couple of seasons, Guardiola taught him a lesson. He really did. Yeah, okay. You think you know everything? I didn't teach you everything. But Arteta's coming into his own now, and it's going to be an interesting match. Looking forward.
I think hands on heart, it's vital that Arsenal scored the first goal in the game, because I think when you go behind City, it's really very tough, especially at the Etihad, and
you have to start.
But then, I suppose, if Arsenal go behind, it will show the real character of the squad, and then we'll see Arteta, what he's learned, and can he go toe to toe with the best? Sometimes going to go behind, I don't like being too open against City neither when you're chasing the game, but I do agree with John. Yeah, the first goal is vital. Yeah, but it's going to be a cracking game, and fingers crossed it goes in Arsenal's favour. It's been a busy show. It's been a busy show, lads. It's been great having Tony on. Absolutely brilliant getting her inside the City. Same with John. Before we go, just like to get your favourite goal from this fixture, Tony. I'm going to go myself with, first of all, Thierry Henry screamer at Highbury when David James was in goal. It was a rain-soaked evening, but it was right like an arrow in the top right-hand corner. Your favourite goal from the fixture?
Mine? 2024, in Kevin De Bruyne second goal, where he won the ball off the Arsenal midfielders and played it to Haaland, and Haaland passed it back to him, and he just passed it into the bottom of the net.
Yeah, it was quality. Yeah, I remember
it was absolute quality.
Yeah.
Now I could pick out a few more Aguero ones and and even going back to back into the early 2000s. But there isn't anything really before that that sticks out in my mind as screamers at the moment. But I think the fixtures have been. I know the Arsenal and City were at different stages as the years have come on since. I think some of the fixtures that have been thrown up in the last 3 to 4 years, they've been exciting. I'm looking, as I said, the way I look at it for Sunday, it's time to sit down and watch two good teams. Hopefully, put up a really, really, really good football game, so that we can just walk away and say, and we've done it in the past, the two teams, and say, you know what, regardless of the result, that was a game of football to watch. When I never worried about whether if City went out and played a game of football and lost it, but they played a game of football that I could walk away and say, you know what, can't fault them for that performance. That was some performance. It was a great game of football. I think that we get that on Sunday, because I think the two teams know that, okay, there's very little to lose on Sunday. There is very little to lose on Sunday, no matter what way we look at it. 5 points for ye isn't much to catch up on. 1 point ahead of us isn't much to catch up on. At 2 points, if it's a draw, and there's still the 2 points between the two teams, it's nothing. Not when there's 33 games left after next Sunday.
Yeah,
I think
it's definitely going to be a cracking game, and I really am looking forward to it. John, briefly, your favourite goal from this fixture?
The one that sticks in my mind, I remember a game at the Emirates. We went along in the stadium, and it was before all the money came into City. Schmeichel was your goalkeeper. I think he was still a teenager at the time, and it basically turned into a battle between him and Fabregas the entire game. Schmeichel was plays out left, right, and centre. He couldn't believe this kid. God, he probably got sick of Schmeichel when he retired from United. Now he turns up for City, and it was actually a scrappy goal that Fabregas finally scored to win the game later on. Yeah. And that's the one that came into my mind. Believe it or not, it was Fabregas against Schmeichel at the guts of 20 years ago, early days in the Emirates. Yeah, that's the one that just popped into my head. Yeah. Schmeichel, to his credit, went on to have a really good career. He really did. But I remember then that day, for sakes, for God's sake, we thought we were finished having to deal with this shit. And then his son turns up and puts in one of them performances as a teenager. It was unreal that day. He really was, yeah.
Yeah, it was like father, like son. Both had terrific careers, yeah, and Premier League winners, both of them as well. Yeah, it's been, as I said, it's been a busy show, but a very enjoyable show. I'd like to thank Manchester City fan, Sligo man, Tony Conlon. Thanks very much for coming on and giving up your time. And I hope to have you on again for the return fixture. Be great to have you later on this season. And I'd like to thank, as always, every little helps, John the Baker Media.
Thanks, Johnny.
Let's get that in. As always,
nice meeting you, boys.
Catch our show on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel, and of course on Spotify later in the week. But from all three of us, enjoy the game on Sunday, and come on to Arsenal. Thanks very much, lads.
You're living in hope, lads. Take care. All of us.